We are back at the College Football Enquirer. It's Andy Staples and Steven Godfrey. We got to talk, Godfrey. You mentioned that obviously a lot of the saber rattling of the last year or so has been a push toward a 16-team college football playoff. The commissioners actually have gotten a deadline extended to talk about the 2026 season playoff. They have until January 23rd now. They were supposed to be done by December 1st. So theoretically, they could look at what happened this year and say, let's just add 4 teams to this bracket. So you brought up the question of, all right, where would I put the cut line? And I actually think it's very easy to find the cut line for this one. You ready?
Go.
Just look at Diego Pavia's tweet to Donald Trump.
Refresh my memory. I don't follow either on social.
Diego Pavia tweeted at Donald Trump last week requesting an executive order for a 16-team playoff. This was not accidental, because if you keep the same principles in terms of your 5 highest-ranked conference champs getting automatic bids,
yes,
and everybody else getting at-large spots, then the last team in the field of a 16-team playoff would be the Vanderbilt Commodores.
Okay. I don't have that in front of me, but I'm looking at our 12-team bracket. And during the break, I thought, who would, from a quality football standpoint, and I will jump out and sort of defend with my valor the 2 G5s that are in there. So I'm not pulling anyone out. I'm saying
we're not changing that rule. Plus, now, whether the people in charge decide they want to change that rule is their prerogative.
Yeah,
but we're not changing it for this exercise.
I'm saying the 12 that were just announced and those matchups. Could I find 4 more teams that I would like to add to this that I think that would create quality football? The 3 off the top of my head, in this order, obviously Notre Dame, Diego Pavia, and Vanderbilt. I'm going to go ahead and say Arch Manning in Texas.
Okay.
All right.
How about I give you the 4 that the College Football Playoff Committee would have put in this situation?
Is why. So I didn't want to look. So go ahead and tell me if I'm close.
Notre Dame.
Got it.
BYU.
Okay, missed that one.
Texas.
Got it.
Vanderbilt.
Nice. Okay, so the only one I omitted was BYU. I don't know if that's biased or not. I think we're just fresh from yet another mugging by Texas Tech.
Right, which it may just be that's what Texas Tech does to everybody.
And right now, I am informed, it's a recency bias, Andy, which we fall prey to in the press, where I'm thinking, I don't really want to see that team. By the way, I felt the same way about Oklahoma after they dropped 2 of 3 and John Mateer couldn't throw a football. Now I'm excited to see who Oklahoma can kind of drag to hell Iowa style in this bracket. So maybe
possibly the team they dragged to hell in Tuscaloosa a few weeks ago.
Yeah, very possible. I think the committee thinks the same thing. So a month from now, if Texas Tech is in the national championship, Andy, I would look back and think, well, okay, BYU wasn't of that tier, and much like the basketball tournament, I still think they probably could have gotten in, won a game, made some noise.
Yeah.
Hey, could they have been a formidable opponent for Ole Miss or A&M?
Well, here's how this bracket would work. Because remember, you'd just be tacking on Tulane and James Madison to the bottom of it at 15 and 16.
Okay. Yeah, walk me through this.
James Madison. So now they might try to do some stupid double bye system. Let's please hope they kill that with fire. If you want to do a 16-team playoff, just do a pure 16-team bracket with 4 rounds of playoffs. So James Madison, Indiana would be your first round matchup. Tulane, Ohio State would be a first round matchup. Vanderbilt, Georgia, which is an SEC matchup but was not played this year, would be a first round matchup. Texas and Texas Tech would be a first round matchup in Lubbock. The Longhorns would have to go to Lubbock. Can I stop us right now and can we just do this now? Like
I'm fine.
Why do they need to meet? Just do this now. This is so much better.
I'm fine with this. I might anger you a little bit and say I would be fine with a feeder bracket into the 12 as well because we have this Army-Navy. I said I'm fine with it. I didn't say I wanted it. We have.
It's not going to affect Army-Navy. You're just going to put them in the same weekend.
No. I'm not arguing. Yeah, I'm not arguing against. What I'm saying is next weekend we have Army-Navy and we have the semis or quarters. I can't remember the FCS, and then we have the Heisman that evening. It's the perfect weekend to slot in more games. And then if we can figure out an Army-Navy exception if we had to one year.
want to apologize because on my On 3 show, I just said leave it at 12 because it's good that you have pretty good teams being left out. You're not scraping the bottom of the barrel to find people who can be competitive in the bracket.
Agreed.
But now that I look at this, I'd rather see this. Like, I'd rather see these games.
Okay, well, let me push you then a little bit. What size are you pushing back against? Keep going through the rankings.
I don't want to add another round. Who is the next
team after Vandy, Texas, BYU, and Notre Dame?
Utah.
You don't want to see it?
Nah.
Next team after that?
USC.
Okay, yeah, I kind of feel
Arizona.
You on that. Yeah. Okay, I feel good about this. Yeah, you're right. Okay, so 16 we feel good with.
Let's continue through these games.
Okay.
You'd have BYU, and again, they might do a stupid double bye thing, but if they didn't, you'd have BYU at Oregon. That's kind of fun.
Yeah, definitely.
Notre Dame going to Oxford.
Weird. Fun.
Miami going to Texas A&M and Alabama going to Oklahoma, same as in this one. But yeah, I could live with that. The thing is, though, like 16 last year would have been way too many.
Okay, but so we only have 2 data sets here, Andy. Does that mean so we have a 50% clearance rate on a quality 16-team bracket?
Yeah, and I think as the sport evolves, I think we got a good chance of that percentage going higher.
Okay, I do too. I was just curious what your thoughts were. I feel like more often than not,
I think the talent gaps within the top 30 are shrinking.
Yes. And I also think that the parity argument inside of the big 2 leagues, more the SEC now, but you have predicted on the show many times, hey, give the Big 10 3 years, give the Big 10 4 years, whatever. You're going to have that same dynamic. And I think I've said this on the show before, but Steve Wiltfong, your colleague at On 3, kind of convinced me of this in an off-season conversation for a piece I was working on where you've got to build the factories up there, and they're not ready yet at like an Illinois, for instance, to have the sort of perennial competitiveness of like an Oklahoma or Ole Miss right now.
Well, I believe this is what Brett Bielema considers his best recruiting class yet at Illinois. That this is the one he's the most excited about.
The one you're talking about the one he signed this past week.
Just signed last week. Yeah.
Right. Which is why I think there are some problems in the Big Ten. Maybe the leadership is at odds, for the future, whatever, but you got to give it time. I have complained on the show about the lack of quality inventory down the stretch in season as compared to the SEC, but I do feel confident, and there's like 4 or 5 programs that can raise that bar, provided though, and this is a different conversation for the offseason, like Wisconsin can get back on its feet. Michigan State is at least relevant.
They need to carry their part of the load. Yeah. And they haven't been.
Yeah, we've got a couple of projects that are still under construction up there. That's the biggest thing. It's like a subdivision.
So they're going to push for the 16. The Big Ten wants bigger than that. The Big Ten wants the automatic bids. The Big Ten wants the play-in games. And look, I actually think the play-in games are a more interesting idea than conference championship games for 16, 17, and 18-team conferences. Because I don't think...
Yes.
I don't think those are that great. And, even the SEC championship game yesterday, that's the one everybody's trying to save because it's been a great event through the years.
But it's also money.
Well, right. But you can create money.
Yes.
An opportunity. Anything that has stakes where somebody plays their way into the playoff, there will be money to be made on that.
Okay. One thing, though. I'm going to push back because I agree with you on this emphatically. I do think we need to just dash these games and start the playoff earlier. I do need to recognize the emphasis and like emotional equity that Georgia put into yesterday. Beating Alabama is not nothing on any date, on any circumstance for Kirby Smart. He's out there like kind of emotional, thanking the band. Like I'm from the state of Georgia. I have a bunch of sidewalk dog fans in my life. That game mattered a lot. Whipping Alabama, blanking them through what, three quarters and change. That mattered a lot to UGA.
Absolutely. And they showed up. There was no. You've had coaches say, "Oh, why would you want to show up for the conference championship game?" Kirby Smart never said that.
Kirby wanted it.
Kirby Smart was always like, "Put the ball down. We'll play. We don't care.
Yeah,
we want to win a championship."
Yeah,
and I actually think that's most of these elite programs. That is how they feel. That they're that competitive.
Yeah, but
even if the outside circumstances change how it feels, the stakes of the game are. because there's a ball on a scoreboard, they don't care.
Second thing I'm going to mention again that counteracts our argument. Shout out to my friends at Home Field Apparel and the other IU people in my life. Folks were weeping last night.
Yes,
who have
100%.
cared, who have given a single damn about Indiana and tackle football. What happened last night is nothing short of like a miracle, even 4 years ago, Andy. So that mattered as well. Now, the other side of that argument was I was in Indianapolis last year, and Penn State and Oregon and their fan bases and even their coaching staffs kind of felt like, man, this is a pseudo exhibition. We're positioning here for where we're going to be seated in the playoff. It did not have those stakes at all.
So this is my issue with it. While I do think the play-in games could be intriguing as a TV property, I don't like anything that makes the game harder to explain to a casual fan. Okay. And it makes the game much harder to explain because the casual fan is going to go, well, why aren't they playing 1 versus 2? Like, why aren't they playing for the championship? Are we just ignoring the championship? And that's the thing.
Yeah.
You shouldn't do that. Like if suddenly you're ignoring a championship, then you've screwed up the system. It's not the system's fault. It's your fault. Like you've messed this up. Like if you've got a situation where you want to have a number 3 versus number 6 game and a number 4 versus number 5 game, and those will have more interesting stakes than your number 1 versus number 2 game, you've messed it up.
Yes.
And that's where they're at right now.
I would agree with that. I don't know if there's a perfect way forward, but I also don't know if we're going to be talking about conference championship weekend in 5 years.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to find another way around. But it also, like, the other piece of it is we don't know what the conferences are going to look like in 5 years.
Correct. I mean, the one that gummed everything up today, in my opinion, and this is, I'm using today's episode to sort of like kind of whiteboard or outline my column for the Washington Post tomorrow. But if we talk about the ACC and its combination of sort of mismanagement and kind of generally poor construction, and then this feckless thing they coughed up in the ACC championship game, they feel like they're on borrowed time. This is bad.
They do.
This was bad for college football. This is
their best team
is in.
Their best constructed team got in.
Yes,
but not with any help from the league.
Almost in spite of it, Andy.
Yeah.
Actually, there's no almost. In spite of it.
Yeah. But I don't blame the ACC. Like, I don't think the ACC should suddenly go, all right, we're going to use college football playoff rankings as our tiebreakers. I don't think they should do that either.
No stakeholder at a Power 4 conference is going to do that when Hunter Yurachek is on television in October going 6-7. That's never going to happen. The committee has embarrassed itself this year more than any year prior, going back to the 4-team format years, and that's saying something.
Well, and I've said this all week that if the right thing to do would be to put Miami in over Notre Dame because Miami won the game. Their records were identical. Their resumes were close.
Yes.
It was the common sense thing to do. But I said they will look even stupider if they do that because they've had Miami and Notre Dame ordered the way they've had them ordered for the entire time. They should have always had Miami over Notre Dame.
Yes.
At one point, they had them 8 spots apart with Notre Dame above them.
I don't think like you and I as media members should have platforms. I don't think we should be reduced down. It's like politics. I don't think we should argue along party lines. So this is what I'm getting at here. I'm the pro G5 college football hipster, but also on my platform, which is counterintuitive to that, is creating the best regular season inventory possible for the biggest teams possible without worrying about conference affiliation. And the statement, and it's maybe not the first statement the committee made in all this, but when you really sit here and examine the Notre Dame and the Miami of it all, college football is still rewarding the wins that you get and their quality, and your intent to seek them out. And I feel like at the end of the day, we can't rely on the conferences to lead us. They will lead us astray. They've done it so far. I think they hurt the sport. I know I'm not going to get into the commissioner rant, but like relying on the conferences to build the inventory is a bad idea. Where you finally get, I think, a productive thing out of the corruption of the sport is when you have mega team and mega team on Labor Day weekend. We protected that we rewarded that, and we rewarded Miami ultimately for scheduling with intent. And I'm happy that happened.
I'm happy that happened. I'm not happy that it took 6 weeks of banging the drum and everybody with common sense saying, why is the team that won below? Because it's not like their resumes were appreciably different or their records were different. That would have been fine. There would have been a reasonable explanation. There was no reasonable explanation ever for that. And
do you think do you think this, like, okay, Oklahoma loses 2 out of 3. I've talked about this a lot, but we have a single bullet point that explains that, which was an injured quarterback. I really think they beat Ole Miss at home if Mateer is 110%, based on the way the second half of that game went. So we don't have that with Miami and those losses. Like, we go back and watch Louisville, and that's just bad football.
Mystifying.
Yeah. And I think that, and I think the moving Notre Dame ahead for as many weeks as they did was to sort of reconcile that.
Well, and the fact that they lost, it's funny because everybody says, oh, you can't lose. You can lose early. You can't lose late. No, you can lose late.
Yeah. Alabama just did
Ohio State lost very late last night. Didn't hurt them a bit. Alabama didn't. The one time you really can't lose, right before they start doing the rankings.
It would seem so. Yeah, it would seem so. You can lose late. I mean, even outside of conference championship games, you can lose late.
Yeah. Because then it's a matter of you're locked.
What am I blanking on right now?
Kind of locked into where you are. And
Texas A&M. That's the one I was blanking on. Texas A&M lost before conference championship weekend. Yeah. They are safely in the playoff, hosting a home game. You can lose late.
Yep. Right. The one time you shouldn't lose. Now, I guess maybe this is undercutting my argument that Miami did get in ultimately.
Mm-hmm.
But Miami was 8 spots behind Notre Dame because of when it lost.
See, okay, let me pause right here. I understand what you're doing because you're seeking to apply logic to this situation, which is sort of our job.
That's probably the problem. I gotcha. Yeah, I understand.
I go back and I'm not going to do this unless somebody pays me to do it. I'm going to be honest. But if you go back and you take those transcripts from those first 3 or 4 weeks and you put them side by side, there is no narrative through line in those conversations. No. It is week to week, shaking it up and throwing it out. Which, by the way, like, I'm not even picking on the committee anymore. That's an impossible task for any collection of individuals to do, and that is a manufactured for TV event. In fact, Ross, who is obviously the calmest of the three of us, has been pretty vocal and pretty passionate about how silly and counterproductive it is. And it's counterproductive not because it confuses people. I really do think it hurts the reputation of the process. I really do. It feels the most
makes
pro
everybody
wrestling.
look. It makes it look like there are morons in charge. Is what is the problem.
And in many years there have been, but you can also mask that because that's what a good comms team is for. And shout out to those people as well. But it's really hard to do that in some of those awkward Tuesday night live TV interviews. By the way, like, I love Reese Davis. He's not trying to press those guys, but pretty much any question he asks, they're going to trip over themselves, if you will, because the next week they're going to have to probably contradict what they said. That's just the way we don't have enough data points. How about we could just beg ESPN? I'm not asking for much. Let's shave 2 more weeks off that thing.
I just wonder, could we come up with another programming idea for them that would get the same numbers, and drive the same conversation, and they could just have one ranking at the end of the year?
Well,
is there a magic bullet there that we could figure out? Now, I think the answer to this is if Godfrey or I could actually figure this out, we wouldn't do this. We'd be television executives getting paid and never have to talk in front of a microphone again. But I think you'd have to do that. You'd have to replace it with something else.
I have a proposal, but they're not they're not going to take a step backwards because what they want is that that sort of faux legitimacy to make the headlines and to make us mad. But what I would do is I would take a sample committee that works at ESPN during the regular season up until, let's say, the weekend before conference championship games, or actually the week before rivalries, okay? I would have a pseudo committee mock it. You could announce that on the air. Bill Connolly works for ESPN.
Do it with your own people. That's not bad.
You could have SP Plus go and rank the 12 according to the parameters, not just the 12 top teams, but hey, projected conference champion, do that. And then maybe have one more. FPI is kind of a junk stat. I don't really like FPI, but you could find 3 and talk about it each week at the halftime of the MAC games and hopefully boost MAC ratings. do that. Don't actually take the people who are responsible for the final decision and tie their arms behind their back in October, because you're undermining the credibility of this sport, and this sport lacks for credibility as it is.
I think that is doable, because all they're looking for is to drive the conversation. Because the show itself doesn't. I don't know that it moves the needle that much.
No, I don't think so.
They've got live basketball to put on anyway. So I think you're right. I think all you need is something that drives the conversation. ESPN's always been great at having its own people create the drama, and then they make their own gravy with the drama across multiple shows.
Right.
Right. So you're right. I think that's doable. So
Okay.
I like it. Steven Godfrey for executive producer.
You know what I don't think I'll be doing in a year is working in Bristol.